Yana Murong wasn't ready to let it go. We can't let it off that easily. Before she could say more, Folly finished digesting the blessing and opened her eyes. A wave of darkness swept outward, a chill tore through the group, and even their souls trembled faintly. Only Kael and his father remained unaffected. Folly, you're awake. Folly blinked, the dim light in her eyes faded, and she was once again the same vacant, innocent girl. Yana Murong's face had gone pale. This little lass, how did she become so terrifying? Impressive, Zhuoyong said, still shaken. Even he had sensed danger in that moment. He was beginning to understand Kael's worries. This kind of ability was truly heaven, defying beyond all reason. Young master, Folly ran to Kael's side. I feel like my illness has gotten a lot better. Even if I don't take spirit medicine, I can hold on for a long time now. Really? Kael was overjoyed, truly. If her symptoms had eased, then Folly's soul power dissipation had improved tremendously. But even amid his joy, he felt a pang of regret. If such a heaven-sent opportunity could come a few more times, Folly's illness would likely be completely cured. Yes, Folly nodded vigorously, her small face full of earnestness. Young master, from now on I can help you fight. I'm really, really strong now. Is that so? Kael ruffled her hair. How strong? Folly suddenly leaned in close. Her slender fingers tapped the center of his brow, and she whispered secretively, I saw it. Right here, there seems to be someone living inside you. The others went quiet. No matter how softly she whispered, everyone could still hear it. And what did she mean, someone living inside him? Inside the consciousness space, sensing that timid gaze peering in from outside, Shade leapt to his feet, too excited to speak coherently. Is it that little lass? Good, excellent, ha ha ha, the illusion-bane eye, truly living up to its reputation. There's no mistake, this is my disciple. I, this sovereign, must take her as my disciple. Whoever dares to steal her away, I'll kill them. Jai Wuju. At the mention of that name, his face twisted with malice, and the hatred in his tone surged toward the heavens. You didn't expect this, did you? Not only am I still alive, I've even found you a little junior sister. Ha ha ha, when the day comes that I return, I'll make it so you can neither live nor die. Outside, Folly blinked. Young master, this person is really powerful. He discovered me. Ah, he jumped up. He seems very happy. Ah, why is he getting angry again? How scary. Don't. Kael's face went pale, and he nearly clapped a hand over her mouth. Don't say any more. He had never expected that after receiving the great Dao's blessing, Folly's abilities would become so heaven, defying that she could easily discover his greatest secret. But at least she hadn't seemed to notice the prime arrival sword cannon. That could wait. Glancing at the other's strange looks, he forced a smile. Someone living inside me. How is that possible? Folly saw wrong. She definitely saw wrong. Folly nodded obediently. If young master says I saw wrong, then I saw wrong. Kael covered his face. That explanation was worse than no explanation at all. Little junior brother, Zhuoyong said with a smile, we heard nothing. That's right, I was just spacing out. You have so many secrets, I can't even be bothered to dig into them. The others weren't fools. They understood that Kael harbored secrets, but the bigger the secret, the less they could afford to hear it, lest it bring endless calamity upon them. Kael was somewhat moved, and also very relieved. Thank goodness Fatty wasn't here. Stop dawdling, Ivan said, pointing at the Dao Bell. You're the only one left. All right. Kael took a deep breath and fixed his gaze on the Dao Bell, eyes blazing. The blessing of 9 rings from the Dao Bell was far more generous than he had ever imagined. The long sword appeared in his hand without a sound. It trembled as if alive, humming. It seems, Zhuoyong said, his heart stirred, that Senior really did come here just to transmit the Dao to our little junior brother. He had heard about the earlier events. Exactly, Folly murmured quietly. Young master was too harsh to that old grandpa. Kael looked awkward. He felt guilty too, but by the time he had woken, the old man was already gone, and he'd never had the chance to thank him or apologize. He couldn't keep doing this, he warned himself. Being so paranoid, treating everyone like a demoness, would only hurt the people around him. That was wrong, and he needed to change. Just then, the green light on the Dao Bell flared brighter than before. What's going on? Yana Murong asked, startled. I don't know. Zhuoyong shook his head. He had read records about the Dao Bell, but he only had a rough understanding. He couldn't explain these subtle changes. Before anyone could figure it out, the green light grew brighter still. Could it be? Ivan's expression shifted. Is the Dao Bell about to disappear? What? Kael panicked. The heaven-sent opportunity was already in his grasp. If it flew away now, the loss would be absolute. That could not happen. The long sword flashed, and 9 rays of prime arrival sword, Kai lashed down without hesitation. The sword energy felt completely different now. Sharper, more agile, and almost responsive to his will. Clearly, the old man's sword intent had brought him considerable insight. 9 rings, it had to be 9 rings. The thought surged through the group at once. Like Fatty, they believed in Kael more than anyone else. The Dao Bell rang out 9 times in rapid succession. The resounding chimes merged into one, transforming into an ancient and profound Dao resonance that spread outward. Everywhere it passed, the barren ground gained a faint trace of green. The green light around the Dao Bell deepened. At the same time, the sky rumbled, and a shaft of green light descended toward Kael. As he watched that green light descend, a new thought took root. If the blessing of 9 rings was already so heaven-defying, what about 10 rings? Once the thought appeared, it refused to leave, urging him to coax the Dao Bell into ringing a 10th time. Should he try? He licked his lips, sorely tempted. It cost nothing to try. If it failed, it failed. But if it succeeded, the blessing would be unprecedented, surpassing everyone else's. Instinctively, he raised the long sword again, but did not bring it down. He had a feeling that no matter how many more sword strikes he made, the Dao Bell would still only ring 9 times. He looked up at the green light, now only 300 meters away, and felt a surge of reluctance. Could it be that it truly wouldn't work? Suddenly, his gaze fell upon the character, 1, still etched into the ground. In his mind, the elder's overwhelming sword intent grew vivid once more. He understood clearly now. The elder had demonstrated that sword intent not for him to imitate, but to point the way. That sword had been the embodiment of the elder's life. He could not learn it. He could never master it. But what was his own sword? In that moment, he forgot the Dao Bell, forgot the opportunity, forgot everything. Only one question remained. What was his sword, truly? The one-word sword. Vaguely, he seemed to grasp something, yet it remained indistinct. Subconsciously, his arm lowered gently. Though he had no conscious will to swing, his body moved as though delivering a strike. The tip of his sword brushed against the Dao Bell's profound energy. A deep, resonant chime rang out once more. This chime carried a piercing power unlike the last, crossing space, crossing distance, crossing everything, and rang directly in the minds of countless living beings across the continent. Beyond the celestial veil, in the endless void, a black-robed elder still refused to give up despite his despair and searched relentlessly. But as time wore on, the disappointment in his eyes deepened until he had nearly abandoned all hope. A soft chime echoed through the void. It was faint, but he caught it instantly. He froze. A bell sound in this void. From where? At that very moment, the black jade in his hand, silent until now, flickered with a faint, ethereal glimmer. His pupils constricted sharply. A surge of excitement blazed in his eyes. Alive, still alive. Ha ha ha, heaven bless the young lady and her husband. The chime, he raised his head, scanning frantically. Where did it come from? Over there, his gaze snapped toward the infinite distance. It seems there is a celestial veil. Across the continent, the bell left countless beings baffled. From mortals to peak forbidden experts, no one understood why the sound had appeared inside their own minds. Except for one person. Deep within Wildwood, Yua Wushwang halted abruptly upon hearing the chime. For the first time, the smile on his face vanished, replaced by solemn gravity. It has appeared, he murmured. His speed suddenly multiplied several-fold. At the border wastes, the chime jolted Kael awake, pulling him from that state of emptiness. Above him, the faint green light hung frozen in midair, barely 3 feet away. He blinked. Did I do that? He had no memory of the sword strike, none. 10, Yana Murong stammered. 10 tolls. Yeah, Kael swallowed hard, unable to force out another word. Junior brother, a Nero's Shanks, who knew far more about the Dao Bell than the other two, couldn't keep his voice steady. You actually impossible. Even the composed, steady Nero's Shanks couldn't form a complete sentence. The Dao Bell had manifested many times throughout history, but from ancient times to the present, no one had ever drawn 10 tolls. Not for lack of trying, it was simply impossible. No matter how heaven-defying one's talent, how deep one's foundation, how vast one's fortune, 9 tolls stood as the absolute limit. 10, how? Young master. Only Folly remained naive and oblivious to what it meant, which was exactly why she kept her wits. You're amazing. Kael felt himself floating under her praise, then looked back at the Dao Bell. The profound energy on its surface churned violently, faintly revealing the mottled bell body etched with countless Dao marks, as if brewing something. Folly, he said, spirits rising and heart burning with anticipation. I believe this must be a heaven, defying fortune beyond anyone's imagination. Yes, Folly gazed at him with pure adoration. Young master, you are the greatest. Then the cyan light above Kael's head vanished. Kael's heart lurched. It's fine, it's fine. He reassured himself. Perhaps the great Dao thought that fortune was too modest, and was preparing something even grander and better. Boom! The world plunged into darkness. A crushing Dao might descended, pressing down on everyone's hearts until they could barely breathe. Kael's unease grew. This spectacle was becoming far too grandiose. Crack, crack. Lightning split the sky in every direction. Blood, red thunderbolts wove through the heavens, threatening to shatter the firmament. Kael could no longer fool himself. This was clearly not the portent of a blessing. Where was the Dao resonance, the immortal music, the cyan radiance, gone all of it? At that moment, high in the infinite heights, the vast celestial veil twisted violently and condensed into an unimaginably colossal eye. It swept its gaze across the continent and locked onto Kael in an instant. Not just Kael's shade was locked too. You little bastard, faced with that awe-inspiring heavenly might, shade a mere remnant soul without a shred of resistance, cursed bitterly. You goddamn. All you do is bring calamity upon this sovereign. I'm finished. Kael's heart turned to ice. He had gone too far. This fortune was too extraordinary, too unprecedented, and utterly impossible to withstand. As darkness engulfed the world, and heavenly might pressed everyone to the ground, none noticed the ancient, weathered architectural complex, flickering in and out of existence, Dread, lie away, the roaring of the great Dao had revealed it. Above the largest palace hung a plaque, more than half of it broken away. Having endured the erosion of endless ages, the two remaining archaic seal characters were nearly illegible. Barely discernible, the first was Xuan, the second was Dan. Xuan Dan. Between the Holy Land and the outside world lay an extraordinarily thick barrier. The larger the Holy Land, the thicker the barrier, and myriad transformations Holy Land was no exception. Yet neither the blood, red lightning dancing across the firmament, nor the impossibly huge eye paid that barrier any heed. Both manifested clearly before every person within the Holy Land. Those with lower cultivation had long since collapsed to the ground, unable even to stand. This myriad transformations Holy Lord's face was ashen. Dread and unease filled his heart. What in the world has happened? Why would such a thing appear? As Holy Lord, he understood better than anyone how terrifying that giant eye was. 100 millionth of its power would be enough to blast him to dust. Saint Realm, beneath that overwhelming heavenly might, a Saint Realm great cultivator was no different from an ant or mayfly. It seems Chu Kuang's expression was grim, his earlier calm impossible to maintain. It's related to that bell toll. Damn it, a myriad transformations Holy Lord was deeply troubled, who in the world, to actually draw out such forbidden power. He was not alone in his dread. With the giant eye's appearance, the world turned dark. As the Dao might intensified, the blood, red lightning grew ever more violent, already carrying faint signs of world-ending destruction. The countless undercurrents, stirred by the Dao Bell's manifestation, came to an abrupt halt. Even the peak forbidden experts across the 5 domains dared not make the slightest move. In the southern region of the eastern wastelands. Boom! Boom! Crimson thunder roared without cease, casting an eerie blood, red pall over heaven and earth. It dimly illuminated the red, skirted forlorn lady as she fled forward. In the distance, the goal, an armored youth's face, was filled with worry. Big sister, please stop. It's far too dangerous. Forlorn lady paid him no heed, nor did she stop. She did not even spare a glance at the anomaly that would make countless mighty experts blanch. The gold and armored youth gritted his teeth and shot after her. Ninth brother, another youth shouted, stunned, are you throwing your life away too? She isn't afraid, the goal. The armored youth's face was pale, but he forced down the trembling and horror in his heart. Then, all the more reason, I can't be afraid. In the southern region of the central prefecture, within Heavenly Secrets Valley. Old man, staring at a giant eye whose true size was utterly unfathomable, Fatty swallowed hard, face ashen. What exactly is this thing? After the 9 tolls of the Dao Bell, he had rushed to Heavenly Secrets Valley at the earliest opportunity. For one thing, to show off. For another, naturally, because of that line, my son Yulin has the bearing of one destined for the Dao. Thick-skinned as he was, even he found it a little hard to bear. Beside him, Tianjuzi's eyes were half-lidded, as if sensing something. All at once, as if struck by a thunderbolt, he spat out a mouthful of blood. His aura plummeted and his realm dropped on the spot. What the hell? Fatty jumped in alarm and hurried over. Old man, are you courting death? You dare recklessly divine something like this.
Cough, cough.
Compared to before, Tianjuzi's face had aged drastically. He kept muttering under his breath. 10 tolls of the Dao Bell, a great taboo of the Dao.
Huh.
Before he could finish, he spat out another mouthful of blood. His realm dropped yet again. His originally thick, jet black hair had turned entirely gray-white. Deep furrows crossed his face, and he looked far older than before. 10 tolls. Fatty reflexively shook his head. Absolutely impossible. How could there possibly be such a thing in this world? But then something occurred to him, and his heart stirred. Could it be connected to that bell sound in our minds earlier? Tianjuzi nodded weakly, unable to speak. Who is that person? Fatty's expression turned grave. Did you manage to divine it? I don't know. Tianjuzi laboriously raised an arm and pointed, just over there. Before he could finish, his gray-white hair turned pure white, his head lolled to one side, and he passed out on the spot. East, following the direction, Fatty froze, to the east. Shit, his face changed drastically. The eastern wastelands. No way could it be that bastard. 10 tolls of the Dao Bell, no logic, pure gut instinct. The first person he thought of was Kael. The more he thought about it, the stronger the unease in his heart grew. I have to go. Glancing up at the crimson thunder that nearly blanketed the entire firmament, he gritted his teeth. Pang Yi has to go take a look. Within the forbidden ground, ghostly wails and low whispers rose without end, several times louder than on ordinary days. The eerie fog boiled and churned. Countless translucent figures drifted dimly about, as if in a spectral domain. Roar. A ferocious howl rang out. 1,000, Jiang demonic shadow with a single horn atop its head burst forth from the eerie fog, charging straight toward the giant eye in the boundless sky. It had no physical form, but its baleful aura surged, nearly tearing through the heavens.
Crack.
A bolt of crimson thunder flashed, landing directly on the demonic shadow. Without a sound, the shadow was reduced to nothingness. Not a trace remained. But the act seemed to enrage something in the depths of the forbidden ground. 2 cold gleams lit up, piercing through layer upon layer of eerie fog to fall upon the giant eye. In the next instant, endless crimson thunder descended, submerging that entire region.
Boom.
Rumble, rumble. Roar after roar mingled with thunder, rolling beyond the forbidden ground. A short while later, the roars ceased. The thunder fell silent. Every disturbance within the forbidden ground vanished, leaving it even quieter than before.
Tesk.
Inside a small courtyard, Changming withdrew his gaze, a touch of amusement in his expression. These fellows are certainly bold. Now they've gotten a taste of suffering. That thing, the old man beside him said, his expression as calm as ever. Though his eyes remained tightly shut, he seemed able to perceive every change unfolding across the sky. Its appearance is strange. Heh heh. Changming sneered. Lord Rooster knows exactly what he wants to do now. What does he want? Fishing. Changming said it like it should have been obvious. Lord Rooster said from the start that the way this fortune appeared was strange. Turns out it was all bait. Every bit of it set to lure people onto the hook. Fish. The old man went quiet for a moment. Who is the fish? Who knows? Judging by the size of this fortune, the old man sounded wistful. It must be a very big fish. Isn't it just? Changming said with some regret. What a shame. If Lord Rooster still had his cultivation, he'd definitely go watch the excitement. With bait of this caliber, the fish on the line, tusk, is probably far bigger than we can imagine. Kael was certainly no big fish. Actually, he didn't even count as a fish. Given his cultivation, ignoring the terrifying existences inside the forbidden ground, even compared to the foremost experts of the 5 domains, he was at best a tiny shrimp. Yet the giant eye seemed to have a particular fondness for this little shrimp. A wisp of Tao might descended, though it was less than 1/10,000th of a billionth of the giant eye's power, it was still more than he could bear. Even his newly condensed divine sense was on the verge of collapse. Not far away, several people were pinned flat and utterly immobile, their faces blank with confusion, their very thoughts frozen solid. Even Folly was no exception. Only Thuron was different. His gaze stayed fixed on Kael, his pure, black eyes showing a trace of anxiety and concern. The demonic Kai around him trembled ceaselessly, as if fighting to break through the suppression. But he could not break free. Within the consciousness space, Shade was still raging. How is this, Lord, so damn unlucky as to have fallen into your hands? It's over. completely over. Revenge is impossible now. My disciple is gone too. If Kael had died in combat against another person, Shade would still have had a high chance of escaping. But now, treated as part of Kael and locked down by the Dao Might, only 2 words awaited him, buried alive as collateral. He felt aggrieved. Kael felt even more aggrieved. He had achieved 10 tolls of the Dao Bell. He might not have shaken history and dazzled the present age, but he far surpassed those 9-toll geniuses. And this was his treatment. Amid his cursing, he subconsciously overlooked one thing. That wisp of Dao Might did not seem willing to take his life for the moment. It was brewing something. Otherwise, even a Saint Realm expert would have been reduced to flying ash in an instant.
Boom. Rumble, rumble.
The endless crimson thunder exploded outward. Heaven and earth dimmed further until the naked eye could see nothing. At exactly that moment, a chaotic, boundless, cold, and merciless will suddenly descended. This is bad. Kael's heart sank straight to the pit of his stomach. He had a premonition. If this will landed on him, his fate would be infinitely worse than death. He wanted to resist, but he couldn't move even a finger. What chance did he have? It's over. At the threshold between life and death, a strange thought flashed through his mind. Had he also suffered the heaven's jealousy? Almost in the same instant, that will descended upon him. And at that exact moment, a sudden change erupted. In the depths of the consciousness space, as if sensing Kael's plight, the prime arrival sword cannon suddenly blazed with golden light. The golden script blurred for an instant, then burst apart, transforming into countless infinitesimal motes of sword intent that circled and swirled through his consciousness space. Seeing sword intent like a billion star points, Shade murmured to himself. Strong. So strong. Kael's realm was too low. He only felt that this sword intent was terrifying. Shade, as a Mordain, understood far better how dreadful it truly was. Each of those billion motes of light could have annihilated him at the height of his power. It was not that he was weak, but that the gap between him and this sword intent was too vast. It was almost the difference between stubborn rock and celestial gold. No matter how hard the rock, how could it withstand the sharpness of celestial gold?
Wang.
At that moment, the billion motes suddenly resonated as one. A profound aura descended, veiling Kael directly. Indescribable. Inexplicable. It seemed to exist yet not exist, hovering between the real and the illusory. Outside, that will flowed over Kael without cease, as if it saw through everything about him, and yet saw nothing at all. After a long while, the will seemed to find nothing it sought and slowly dispersed. Kael finally regained the ability to move.
Hayot.
He gasped for breath, his whole body nearly soaked through with sweat. Even though the prime arrival sword cannon had protected him at the critical moment, that will had been so powerful, it nearly scattered his entire consciousness. If his mental fortitude hadn't been exceptional, if his temperament hadn't been hammered and battered into unyielding stone, any ordinary cultivator would already have become an idiotee. Too close. Lingering fear surged through him. Next time, I can't.
Boom.
Before he could finish, that will returned once more. Its overwhelming pressure was nearly 10 times what it had been before, and within it there was a faint trace of indistinct, violent intent. Caught off guard, Kael's mind and consciousness were nearly shattered in an instant. Sneaky bastard. The words flashed through his mind. Even though the will had caught him completely unprepared, it still failed to break through the profound light cast by the prime arrival sword cannon. It lingered on him far longer than before, but in the end it found nothing. Finally, just as Kael was on the verge of collapse, the will dispersed once more. He had suffered no physical wounds, but he felt as though he had fought a brutal battle. His body trembled slightly, and he could barely stand. Yet he did not dare relax his guard in the slightest. This will was far too cunning. If it came again while he was off guard, he feared he would truly become a complete idiot. But after lingering for a while longer, the will did not descend again. The dim world gradually brightened. The blood, colored lightning, and the giant eye in the firmament flickered as if they were about to fade. Inside his consciousness space, the billions of minuscule sword intent gathered together once more, reforming into the prime arrival sword cannon. Seeing that, Kael finally let out a long breath. That calamity, he had survived it. At the same time, the cursing in his consciousness space grew clearer. His face darkened, and his consciousness sank inward. You little bastard! When Shade saw Kael, he nearly exploded on the spot. What in the world did you do to draw the prying attention of the Great Dao's will? The Great Dao's will? Kael froze for an instant, then sneered. Fine, so it really was it. Just wait. This debt won't be forgotten. So what if it was the Great Dao's will? Even if the Great Dao's will provoked him, actually, wanting revenge might be a bit difficult.
But,
seeing Kael's expression, Shade knew exactly what he was thinking and trembled with rage. Do you have any idea you nearly got this lord killed? Day after day, you provoke this one and offend that one. There's no one you don't dare offend. With your minuscule strength, you even dare provoke the Great Dao. If you think your life is too long, let me out first, and I'll smack you dead with one palm.
let you out.
Kael's face turned black as the bottom of a pot. You know too many of my secrets, and you think I'd let you go. Fine. Shade flew into a rage. I knew it, you little bastard. You're full of wicked schemes, just wanting to use me as free labor, and after all the guidance I gave you, you ungrateful wolf. Tell me, Kael said, his gaze dark. The fewer people who know my secrets, the better. Isn't that right? Obviously. Then, Kael stared at him with an unfriendly expression. I should probably kill you first. You know all my secrets.
Hurry.
Shade's tone shifted, changing the subject with extreme awkwardness. Get out there and look. The great Dao's will descended. Don't let it harm my precious disciple. Don't mind me, just protect her. Kael ignored him and drifted away. Folly only listens to me. Without my permission, no one can take her as a disciple. What do you know? Shade's heart prickled under the threat, and he didn't dare speak too loudly. To be my disciple, she is. Halfway through his sentence, he seemed to think of something and suddenly sighed. If I hadn't been so good to my disciples, how would I have fallen to this state? Outside, Kael opened his eyes. The world had become clear and bright. The blood, colored lightning, and the giant eye had vanished without a trace, as if everything he had just experienced was merely an illusion. Where's the Dao Bell? His gaze swept the area, and his heart suddenly ached. Why had the Dao Bell disappeared too? Where was the reward? No, 10 tolls. Even 9 tolls would have been fine. Just gone. After all that trouble and effort, nearly losing his life, he hadn't gained the slightest benefit. A complete loss, a terrible loss. He had a premonition that the great Dao's bounty from 9 tolls could have allowed him to step into the extreme realm of the divine connection realm without paying any price. For a moment, he regretted it so deeply, his guts turned green. Too greedy, 10 tolls, why 10 tolls? Wasn't the opportunity of 9 tolls appealing enough? Young master. Seeing him awake, Folly rushed over. What exactly happened just now? The others crowded in close, voices overlapping, faces still tight with lingering fear. The blood, colored lightning, and that giant eye had been all too real. Even though the great Dao's will had forced them into unconsciousness, the memory lingered like frost in the bones. So yes, their concern for Kael ran deep. About that. Kael swallowed the ache in his chest and gave them a careful summary. To spare them the worst of it, he smoothed over the more perilous details. One more thing, he added gravely. Not a single word of what happened here leaves this group. If it leaks, it will be a disaster for me. Heads nodded, solemn and unwavering. 10 chimes from the Dao Bell. It was beyond belief. And today's upheaval in the heavens had certainly alarmed more than a few terrifying existences. The whole world was likely hunting for the source right now. If Kael were exposed, the consequences didn't bear thinking about. Brother Yona Murong frowned. 10 chimes, and truly, not a single reward. The ache in Kael's chest flared. Don't bring that up. Stingy, Folly pouted. Too stingy. Indeed, Zhuo Yong nodded with all the gravity of a sage. The great Dao is impartial. It should treat everyone equally. Even if Nero's Shanks sighed, it could at least give rewards for 4 or 5 chimes. Even 3 would do. Ivan chimed in. Anything beats nothing. Every word was meant to stand up for Kael. Every word landed in his ears like a knife twisting between his ribs. Enough, he ground out. This isn't over. Folly tilted her head, suddenly distracted. Young master, is there something over there? Everyone followed her gaze and saw nothing, empty space. Folly, Kael's heart stirred. What did you see? No one understood better than Kael just how monstrous Folly's abilities were. He believed her without a shadow of doubt. There, Folly thought for a moment. There's light. Folly, Zhuo Yong said, puzzled. That direction fellow Taoist Gu and I already passed through there just now, He stopped mid-sentence and closed his eyes, sensing carefully. After a moment, he frowned. The aura there is indeed somewhat different from before, but the distance is too far to perceive clearly. If Folly hadn't pointed it out, I wouldn't have noticed. Could it be? Kael and Ivan exchanged a glance. Senior brother, shall we go take a look? Why not? Zuo Yang nodded. Little junior brother, you came away empty-handed today. If you can find some opportunity there, it might make up for it. Kael shot him a look of pure grievance. They really weren't going to let this go, were they? Beyond the heavenly veil, the black-robed elder hung in the void, staring into the empty space ahead. A flicker of surprise crossed his eyes. What a thick heavenly veil. Even for me, breaking through it would take considerable effort. Hidden behind a veil this thick, no wonder the black jade never reacted. Who would have thought, he sighed softly, the young miss and her husband actually hid the young lord in such a secluded place. Sigh, all these years, the young lord must have endured much hardship. As he spoke, a terrifying, awe-inspiring aura rose from his body like an awakening tide. Young lord, wait for this old servant to bring you home. The people of the 5 domains knew nothing of what stirred beyond the heavenly veil. The anomaly in the heavens had passed, but the fear lingered like smoke after a fire. By all logic, this should have been a moment of celebration. After a gap of 3,000 years, the Dao Bell had appeared once more, showering countless opportunities upon the world. Geniuses, blessed by the great Dao, should have been contending against one another in glory. But no one was in the mood. That giant eye, that blood, colored lightning, too bizarre, too wrong, who would dare lower their guard? Many sought answers at Heavenly Secrets Valley. They were turned away at the gates. The Master of Heavenly Secrets declared the valley sealed for 100 years. No visitors. Rumors swirled. Some said a taboo existence within a forbidden ground had angered the Dao Bell, drawing down heavenly punishment. Some said an otherworldly creature had slipped through when the Dao Bell appeared, was detected by the great Dao, and thus divine lightning descended. Some said an unparalleled genius had drawn 10 chimes and provoked heaven's jealousy, blasted to pieces on the spot. What none of them imagined was that the only person who truly understood the matter was inside Wildwood at this very moment. Dead, Liu Wushwang glanced at the now calm sky and frowned. No, wrong. If he died that easily, how could he deserve the word taboo? Within the forbidden ground. It's over. Watching the celestial phenomenon gradually fade back to normal, Changming seemed reluctant. What a pity. We missed such a grand commotion for nothing. Sha Yun, he glanced at the old man. Tell me, did the fish take the bait or not? I don't know. Heh, as if he'd expected that answer, Changming sighed to himself. After laying out such an enormous investment, catching it would be fine, but if not Tusk, that would be a massive loss. Lord Rooster, the old man seemed unconcerned with that matter, turning instead to another concern. How great an opportunity do you think that boy will obtain? Him, Changming was startled. With his aptitude, it should not be small. I think, the old man said with a faint smile, the opportunity he obtains will far exceed everyone's imagination. At that very moment, Kael, far away in the border wasteland, felt his heart ache again. It hurt especially badly. Oh, Changming raised an eyebrow. You think that highly of him? This little fellow's fortunes are astonishing. The old man spoke with feeling. Not only does he possess the ultimate art of the sword Dao, he also seems to have walked the path of the extreme realm. Even I cannot see through the sword in his hand. For a talent like him, passing on my methods would only harm him. Better to give him guidance and help him avoid detours. That is what suits him best. I have a feeling, if he grows smoothly in the future, his achievements in the sword Dao will far surpass mine. Changming did not argue. In other matters, the old man might not compare to him, but when it came to insight into the sword Dao lineage, the old man surpassed him tenfold. Do you think? After a long silence, Changming spoke again, his tone more solemn. What about him? He had asked this before. Raising it again now carried a different weight. Forget it. The old man understood his meaning and shook his head. The karma is too great. He cannot bear it. It is rare to encounter such a promising seedling. We cannot ruin him. Let the mysterious heaven lineage end with me. You, Changming, grew agitated. If you had corrected that bad habit of yours, would you have suffered such severe Dao wounds back then? And that god. Flaying formation too, they brought it upon themselves. Whether they live or die, what does it have to do with you? And now you're also... Lord Rooster, the old man interrupted. It is already too late to speak of these things. Besides, I would not undo the choice I made back then. Just die later. Changming sighed. If you die, I, Lord Rooster, will truly have no one left to keep me company. Don't worry. The old man gently stroked the wooden staff. Before that sword is fully nurtured, I will not die. Nurturing a sword? Changming was stunned. What are you nurturing a sword for? The old man's eyelids trembled faintly. A strand of peerless, overwhelming sword intent burst from the corners of his eyes. The sword intent was vast and majestic, domineering beyond compare, instantly purging the strange fog within 10 li of the thatched hut. Nurturing a sword for 1,000 years.
To slay a god.
Myriad transformations, holy land. When the anomaly vanished, everyone from the myriad transformations, holy lord down to the ordinary disciples, breathed a secret sigh of relief. Outside the Holy Land, the world was the same. Everyone was discussing it, and wild guesses flew in every direction. How is it, the myriad transformations, holy lord asked, glancing at Chu Kuang, any leads? He addressed Chu Kuang entirely as an equal. After all, apart from his former cultivation, Chu Kuang was his match in knowledge and experience. It should be. Chu Kuang's expression darkened. That bell toll was strange. It cannot be separated from this upheaval. But as for the exact truth, we still need to go to Central Prefecture and investigate. Everyone knew there was a master of heavenly secrets in Central Prefecture who excelled in divining the workings of fate. Though his cultivation sat at the bottom of the Saint Realm, no one dared offend him. Almost half of the hidden secrets circulating among the 5 domains came from him. That's all we can do. The myriad transformations Holy Lord sighed. Thankfully, nothing major went wrong. Otherwise, given our myriad transformations, Holy Land's foundations, we would have been the first to suffer. It didn't matter. Chu Kuang shook his head. Since you and I have an agreement, I will naturally help you over the next 100 years. Before he finished, several figures flew over from the distance. He recognized them. They were the ones sent out earlier to search for the 4 people behind the 9 tolls of the Dao Bell. What are you panicking for? The myriad transformations Holy Lord snapped. Did you find them? The 4 exchanged glances. They had barely left the Holy Land before the anomaly in heaven and earth nearly scared them out of their wits. How could they dare go looking for anyone connected to the Dao Bell's 9 tolls? Holy Lord, one of them gathered his courage. We haven't found them yet. However, on our way back, we happened to encounter the chariot of the Saintess of the Heavenly Radiance Hall. It seemed to be heading toward the border wasteland. The border wasteland? Chu Kuang frowned deeply. What would she be going to the border wasteland for at a time like this? He knew the Heavenly Radiance Hall. Its strength was considerably greater than the myriad transformations Holy Lands, and its foundations ran far deeper. The Heavenly Radiance Hall has an ancient heritage, the myriad transformations Holy Lord said after a moment. They know many secrets hidden from us. For them to go to the border wasteland at this time, they must have discovered something. He stopped, then exchanged a glance with Chu Kuang. Could it be? No mistake. Chu Kuang's voice rose with excitement. It's the Mystic Elixir Pavilion. The border wasteland. With Zhuo Yong and Thuron leading the way, the group found the strange place without much effort. Before they had even drawn near, the distant scene stunned them. Under an extremely dense mist of light, a cluster of ancient ruined buildings loomed faintly. As the mist rose and fell, the buildings seemed to twist and distort along with it. Brother Yong, Kael forced down his shock. This wouldn't be the secret place you mentioned, would it? It seems. Ivan stared for a long time, hesitating. It is. He paused, then added, but then again, it doesn't seem so. Kael felt like hitting someone. Myriad transformations, Holy Land. Strange, the myriad transformations Holy Lord frowned slightly. If it really is the Mystic Elixir Pavilion, why would it appear at this very moment? Could it be connected to the earlier celestial anomaly? Not strange. Chu Kuang thought for a moment. The reason for the Mystic Elixir Pavilion's appearance has always been extremely mysterious, and no one can fully understand it. It likely has to do with changes in the heavenly secrets. The earlier anomaly was too great and threw the heavenly secrets into chaos. It stands to reason that this caused it to appear unexpectedly. Holy Lord, Luan Ping was overjoyed. The opportunities inside this Mystic Elixir Pavilion are immense. First the Dao Bell, and now the Mystic Elixir Pavilion. Opportunities are arriving one after another. Our myriad transformations Holy Land absolutely cannot miss this. The Mystic Elixir Pavilion had suddenly appeared in the border wasteland of the northern region more than 1,000 years ago. No one knew its origins, and its appearance defied all understanding. Though its exterior was ancient and ruined, its interior held a vast quantity of pills and elixirs. Over 90% of them had already lost their potency and become waste pills. The remaining 10% was enough to drive countless cultivators mad. However, among the pills that had been brought out, very few could be identified. Even the top alchemists could recognize only a tiny portion, as if those pills had never existed in this era. Fortunately, no matter what kind of pill it was, its name and effects were clearly marked on the pill bottle. Otherwise, no one would likely dare consume them. Such a miraculous place naturally attracted the various factions to fight over it. But no matter how high the cultivation of those who came, they could not shake the mystic elixir pavilion in the slightest.